What is your favorite rivalry over here, Braden? Shh. I heard Tom and Jerry. That's the second Tom and Jerry reference I've had this week. Is that true? Really? I love it. Vintage. That table, do we have any favorite? Yeah. Hold on a second. This crew over here is talking. I can't hear. Shh. OU and what? Boy, you are bold. So didn't ask you. You're acting like a sixth grade boy. Okay? That's not a good thing. You're acting like Judah. All right, Marcus. Packers and Bears. It's a good one. Yes, Madeline. Louder. Jesus and Satan. Okay, Jesus juked me. All right, Graham. Shh. Man, I would love to be able to hear them. Steelers and Ravens. All right, let's go over here. Pepsi and Coke. Jordan, what's that? Oh, Thornton and Baines. Okay, that's a good one. All right. All right, hold on. No, we're not. No. All right, Sachin. Yankees versus Red Sox. That's a good one. Let's not talk about it. Kendrick and Drake. Okay. Huh? I can't hear you. Cardinals and Cubs. It's a good one. Shh. Okay, over here. No, that is not a rivalry. We're the same team. Unbelievable. Okay. Eli. Texans versus Titans. Is that a rivalry? I didn't know that. Two Houston teams. Okay, yeah. Miles. Say that again. Okay. Hold on. Okay, I got about another minute or so here. Shh. I really want to hear what Hope has to say. Shh. Wow. It's good. Okay, you don't have to tell me you got one because this tells me you got one. That's how that works. Okay. Tennessee and Bama, not a rivalry, but they were this week and Tennessee won. Yeah, congratulations. Dara. Hold on. Queen Elizabeth and who? And her sister? Okay. I feel like there's a story there that I need to hear. Okay, yes, in the red. Shh. Hold on. Shh. Yes. Huh? Oh, gotcha. Okay, hold on. Raising your hand tells me. That's like actually the method of getting my attention here. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You already had one. You and your brother. Wow. Okay. Dimitri, go ahead and say it. Oh, Trump versus Harris. No. All right. Shh. So, we ended on politics. That's fantastic. All right. Shh. Okay, yell it. Awesome. I can't understand it because I have these sixth grade boys. Oh, really? So that is not a rivalry. Surely, right? It is? Divine Savior and Logos is a rivalry? Okay, where's my Logos kids? Hold on. If you go to Logos Prep, raise your hand. Divine Savior. Wow. Y'all are going to be like, okay. All right. Now, no. We literally have to keep going. Now, listen. Here's what I find is interesting. Y'all need 2 chairs. So get a chair. Chris, will you bring a chair up for them, please? Thank you. Here's what I find interesting. If you have a moment where someone in your family, let's say your mom, ticks you off. Maybe she told you to clean your room, do your laundry, something like that. And then you start to get an attitude about that. Isn't it interesting that you have some sort of attitude are we good? Okay. You have some sort of attitude towards your mom, and then you go to school, and then someone hits you with the your mom joke, and all of a sudden you're mad at them, right? Isn't that interesting? You were mad at her yesterday, and now all of a sudden you're mad at this other person for talking trash when you were mad at her yesterday. Now, Thorn and Baines is a good one. Thorn and Baines, you guys are going to end up primarily at... Can you please stop dragging that? Just right there is good, actually. It's perfect. Thank you. Y'all are primarily going to end up at the same school, okay? And then it's going to be like, let's go Ridgepoint, right? But like at the end of the day, like until you get there, right, you're like, you're rivals. And then all of a sudden you're friends. Like you're playing on the same team. Sometimes players get, have you ever seen, and I'm not asking you for examples, but have you ever seen like on pro sports or college sports, players on the same team fight each other? Okay? Now, do you see them fight each other more? Or the other team? The other team. Now, why do you think that is? Shh, hold on. Let's move to a civilized manner where we're listening and paying attention and we're raising our hand. Paxton. Teams stick up for each other. Judah.
Because they're enemies and they have natural aggression.
Cooper?
Because they need to save their energy for the fight.
They need to save their energy? I think you misunderstood my question. Because that had nothing to do with what I was talking about. So, yeah, you're primarily not going to fight with someone on your team. Although it will happen, you're going to fight with someone else. And then, here's what's interesting. If you have like a group of, like, say, NBA teams. You ever seen NBA players, two teams fight each other? It happens. But then they play in the Olympics. And all of a sudden, they're not fighting each other. They're fighting essentially a whole nother country, right? And so if you get into a different place, you respond differently. Now, here's what I want to bring up. Jesus is going to talk in this particular passage about retaliation. What does retaliation mean? You literally just yelled. No, you're good. Yeah, when you fight back. Did you want to raise your hand? All right, there we go. That's how that's done.
Doing something back to someone when they like tell you to do something or when they ask something.
Yeah. Revenge. Okay. Are revenge and retaliation the same thing?
No, but
We're going to have to start using our hand, but we're also going to share the load here. What makes revenge and retaliation the same? If you got any thoughts on that.
they're both to like get back at someone for something. You call me, right? Hey, you weren't looking at me. So. Hey, they're both to like get back to someone for something or like usually like target them in some way.
Okay. In what way are revenge and retaliation different? Are you going same? Okay. In what way are they different?
Like retaliation, like if someone say were to hit you, hit them back instantly, but like revenge is like plotting.
Say that last part again.
Like revenge is like plotting over
Plotting over time.
time.
Cooper, you're going to have to help me out. Marcus?
Retaliation is like where you say something mean to them, but like revenge is like you shove them off the slide.
Okay. Is there a sense that when you're getting someone back, first of all, if that's even allowed, right? We're going to talk about that because Jesus is going to talk specifically about that tonight. When someone hits you, do you want to inflict the exact same amount of pain on them? Or do you want to hurt them maybe a little bit more? Because, hold on. What would that, and we're going to raise our hand for this one. You haven't heard my question yet. Go ahead.
So when somebody writes on your paper at school, you want to write on it more. There.
That's a good example. It's a good example. No, we're going to put our hands down because we're going to keep moving. I know, dude, you've got answers for everything and I love it. But so do other people and we're just going to keep moving because we're not going to camp out on this question all night. We're going to keep going. So, I even lost track of my question. Help me out, bro. No. This is not helpful. Thank you. I need you two to figure it out, okay? Chill for a second. Thank you. Now, what do you think it is about wanting to hurt them more? Like what happens if you hurt them more than they hurt you? Get dignity? Yeah? Shh. There's just a ton of whispering going on over here. Trying to focus.
Feel guilty?
You feel guilty if you hurt them more? Okay.
There's a like slight ease in your stomach. It's like I just like made them mad. It feels good.
Hmm.
Kind of like what he said. I feel relaxed after I do it.
Okay. Stay away from these guys. They're psychopaths. Just makes me at peace. It makes you at peace. Okay, Jesus, we're going to open the Bible right now because I feel like we got to get to this because there's just some darkness in the room. It makes me feel more at peace when I hurt them more than they hurt me. Okay, let's just put it all on the level playing field. All of us, at some point, when someone hurts us, have almost like an innate desire to hurt them back. What I was thinking was, if you hurt them more than they hurt you, the two words that came to mind for me were, I win. I win if I hurt them more than they hurt me. Now, here's what I find interesting, and I'm just talking about like movies and TV shows. But I'm also talking about history. In general, when one person hurts another person, and then there's this plot, right, this scheme to hurt them back, it's not like they're like, you know what? And they dap each other up. And they're like, good game. And then they just don't ever fight again. What happens is it keeps escalating. It could happen in superhero movies. It could happen in movies where there's like gangs involved. It could happen in movies where there's like families feuding. There's a quote out of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and Mark Twain. I put this on the screen. You've got two people talking. He goes, "What's a feud, Buck?" He's like, "Why, where was you raised, Huck? Don't you know what a feud is?" He goes, "Never heard of it before. Tell me about it." Says, "Well," says Buck, "a feud is this way. A man has a quarrel with another man and kills him, and then that other man's brother kills him. And then the other brothers on both sides go for one another. Then the cousins chip in, and by, everyone's killed off, and there ain't no more feud. But it's kind of slow, and it takes a long time." Right? Straight out of Mark Twain. And you've got this, this is true. Like, this is what happens. And we can laugh about it, but this is true. What always ends up happening, and you could make this into like an afternoon TV special or like your mom's little lesson about not hitting a kid back on the playground, but doesn't matter what your place in life is, whether you're a kid or an adult. When you are hurt and your desire to hurt someone else gets put into action, it won't end it. It actually just keeps fueling it. And it's interesting that Jesus is going to talk about this. And I will tell you right now, some of you are going to find yourself disagreeing with Jesus tonight. This is not a topic that is often taught. This is why I love working through kind of books of the Bible and passages, because you like last week, Dimitri taught about oaths, right? And he did a great job. I don't know that any youth ministry that I've ever heard of talked about oaths. Like, that's not a trending topic among teenagers. But we're going to walk through this passage. And I will tell you, there are people in this room that are going to disagree with Jesus on this topic. Or maybe your parents would disagree with Jesus on this topic. Here's what I want to just kind of put before you. If you want to call yourself a Christian, I would invite you to do so. And we can talk about what that means and all that. But you absolutely can't call yourself a Christian and finding yourself saying, no, what Jesus said was a lie or a falsehood. Like, those two don't belong, right? You can't say the same thing. You can't say those two same things in the same sentence and call yourself a Christian. You can't say Jesus was a liar. Jesus was a lunatic. Jesus was wrong. Jesus has some really radical teaching in this area. So he's going to say it. Matthew chapter 5, verses 38 to 42. You've heard it was said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Okay, let me just pause there for a second. I'm going to show you exactly where that came from in the Old Testament, but it also is from outside of the Old Testament. So very common law, centuries before Jesus, very common. And so it has its roots in Scripture and in the Old Testament law. It also has its roots outside of like the Jews in the Old Testament. You've heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth. Hold on, can we go back? An eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, don't resist an evildoer. In fact, that word resist, we're going to talk about that in a minute. On the contrary, if anyone slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. Next verse, you have heard, verse 40. As for the one who wants to sue you and take away your shirt, let him have your coat as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to the one who asks you, and don't turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. Let me pause there for just a second. Jesus basically just said one thing like 4 different ways. Now, if you want to zoom out even further, we're in a section where Jesus is going to be talking about how to deal with conflict with people. So last week, Dimitri talked about how to let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you make an agreement, don't swear by God and then just totally like turn your back on that. Be a person of integrity is what we talked about last week. Today we're going to talk about retaliation, and does that fit among people of the kingdom, people of Jesus. And next week we're going to talk about loving your enemies. It's really all couched in this like, what do we do when we encounter conflict? And I'll tell you, if I can just be really honest with you, our nation, and might I say my generation, is not giving you guys very good examples. If I can just be honest. By and large, y'all are growing up in a society that can't stop arguing and doesn't know how to deal with conflict. So if we can just zero in on what Jesus has to say, maybe we can walk away with something in particular. Now, if we can go into the Old Testament foundations for this, first Exodus, we've got Exodus chapter 21, I think, 21, yeah. But if there's harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, burn for burn, wound for wound, and stripe for stripe. Then one forward in Leviticus, it shows up again. If anyone injures his neighbor, as he has done, it shall be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Whatever injury he has given a person shall be given him. And then furthermore, in Deuteronomy, it's going to say this. Your eye shall not pity, it shall be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Now, can we go back to Matthew chapter 5, verse 38? Let me have your eyes on me for a second. Does it sound like Jesus is saying, yeah, if they hit you, you can hit them back? It doesn't? Does to me. It 100% sounds like Jesus is saying, you've heard it said, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth. He's kind of pointing back to the Old Testament, but here's what he's saying. Kind of switches it up in verse 39. Don't resist an evildoer. In fact, that word resist. Let me give you the word here, because that word takes on more meaning than just resist. It says don't take revenge on. Don't retaliate revengefully using violence of evil means. Don't react violently against the one who's evil. Don't use violence to resist evil. In fact, don't repay evil for evil. Is what that word captures. Sometimes when things are spoken in a different language and then translated, it kind of takes some learning from some commentators, and so that's what the commentators would say. And he's saying, you've heard it was said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Now here's what Jesus is saying here, is that in the past, There had to be laws put out because there was chaos in the Old Testament times. And if these family feuds, right, I'm thinking like Hatfield and McCoy's, right? If you've got these family feuds that are going after each other, what we learned in humanity is that people can't stop hurting each other. Once they start, it just escalates. And there's usually not one party that's like, yeah, we're done. Dare I bring current events into the matter? We have currently, and I don't care to comment on the war, but the war in the Middle East is happening. And if you talk to one person, they might say, oh yeah, this person's right, this side's right. You talk to another person, they might say, no, the other side's right. So I think it was last week, the leader of this movement was killed, right, in action. Like there was a move to kill this person. And then the side, I'm trying to remain nameless here, the side that killed the leader of this organization, the side that killed him, they were like, now we can be done. And it was kind of like maybe a power move. It was like, hey, we can end this right now, right? And what did the other side say? Dude, let me tell you, I saw the interview, and it was technically of the son of the guy who was assassinated and killed. And his eyes, straight to the camera, read like murder. He was like, this is not over. Okay? That's real life, current events, like in the last week. This is not a way to close a war or end a war. Right? It's just, and Jesus is saying like, it's not going to work. Now, back in those days, in the Old Testament, there's chaos. And so literally these laws were put in place. I know this sounds counterintuitive. It's like, since y'all are used to going and, escalating this battle, we're just going to say, hey, if you stole that person's cow, this person's going to pay what a cow is worth. Right? If you went and stole their crops, you're going to count up all the money that those crops that they stole were worth, and is going to pay you the exact dollar amount. Kind of like we said, is revenge, is retaliation one for one? Or is it kind of like, with revenge, I kind of want to hurt you a little bit more. But this Old Testament law, Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy, was actually put in place to limit the bloodshed, to limit the pain, to limit the cost. If something was in the way of reconciliation, there was a law put in place to say, all right, if he did this to you and it was wrong, we're going to let him do this to you. Now, it's funny, though, if you think about it, right? Eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Like if someone gives you a black eye, then it's like, does it make anything better if you're like, all right, slug him in the eye? It's like nothing actually got better, it got worse. It's like, I already had a black eye, now you got one too. And at the end of the day, if you ask people who have, and I have seen testimonies of this, men in prison, they would tell you, under no circumstances did I feel better for paying someone back, for getting revenge. There's not a sense of like, oh, all right, now I can live peacefully. No. You just live with the shadows and the darkness of what happened there. Please stop. Thank you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through these 4 examples, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an idea of what Jesus was talking about. So there's some cultural things, okay? Christy, can I actually have you? I did not tell her she was going to come up and be my helper, but don't worry, it's going to be good for you. Yeah, give her a hand. Yeah. I need a volunteer. This is my wife, Christy, if you haven't met her. No. She's my volunteer. Under no circumstances would I allow Grace and Maze to come up and do this. Okay, come stand over here, right here. So, can you put up the first example? There's the slap, right? If someone slaps your right cheek, you're not going to slap me. And I'm certainly not going to slap you. So, what was happening in those days was that if someone slaps, and here's what's interesting. If you've noticed in Matthew chapter 5, there's a lot of right hand, right cheek. There's a lot of right. It was kind of like dominant. Sorry, left-handed people. We love you. You matter to God too. But in this moment, it's the same thing as like all mankind. It's like that includes women too, But we're just saying there's a dominant sense of right. Now, where's your right hand? If you were going to slap my right cheek, how would you do it? No, with your right hand. Check this out. No, hold on. So check this out. I learned this week. It's amazing. Backhand. Yeah, that was a little too, like you've been waiting for this moment. You got a ring on too. Goodness gracious. So put a hole in my face. So she would just mimic like a backhand slap. Not too hard. Okay. I love you. Okay, yeah. So she would back it. So check this out. What she just demonstrated in those days was like the number one way to show disrespect. There was actually laws against doing this unless it was in the right time and place. And so here's what Jesus is saying to those people. If they disrespect, I don't know what the most disrespectful thing is. If someone in front of the whole school body, stay up here because I'm going to have you do some more. In front of the whole school body, someone disrespects you to the number one. This is the backhand slap in this culture is that. Now, what does Jesus say? If someone slaps your right cheek, so what do? So here's what I learned about the culture. That backhand slap was like her saying, I'm in charge of you, you're an inferior, you're lesser, you're worse, you're lower class. But then the open hand slap on the other side is like we're on the same, you look like you're going to, is like we're on the same level. Okay, thank you. Can you give her a hand? Yeah. Okay, thank you for not slapping me. So the backhand, stick with me. The backhand is this crazy disrespectful thing. And so here's what Jesus is saying. This is radical. This is what I told you you're going to disagree with. Some of you are going to walk away and you're going to have to wrestle with whether you believe Jesus or not. You're going to wrestle with whether or not, can I call myself a Christian or not? Because this does not fit in America. I promise you. So he says, someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other one also. Here's what he's saying. It is expected for you to do what? Hit them back, right? To get them back, to disrespect them, to show them that you can stand on business. But what happens when you humble yourself? Check this out. What happens when you have enough honor to say, I'm not going to hit you back? Because we know that Jesus, and we don't know in this moment if you're standing in this moment because he's teaching, he's not been crucified yet, but one day he's going to get crucified and he is not going to fight back for our good. So here's what he's saying. Is it possible that in that moment you will break the chain of their anger, of their sin, and that you'll be able to reconcile? Okay? This is cultural. I'm telling you, this is not something that I knew inside of myself. I was able to read it with some commentators. Fantastic. Second one, someone takes your shirt, okay? Now, this is again, we got some cultural stuff here. You have no idea how awkward it's going to be. It's going to get more awkward than you think. So, someone takes your shirt. Now, in my version, in ESV, it says tunic. But we're just talking about a shirt. This is meant to be worn kind of against your skin, right? But then he's going to say, give him your cloak or your coat also. Now, here's what I learned about that. Do you know it was illegal for them to take your coat or your cloak? Stay with me, because some of you are going to miss this because you're talking, but it's fantastic. What, the cloak or the coat, it was illegal to take that from anyone. Do you know why? Because that doubled as their blanket at night. That's how so it was a humanitarian thing. So we're not going to take the coat or the cloak or whatever, but Jesus is saying, if they take your shirt. Now, public square, you're in court, right? It literally says if someone sues you and takes your shirt, you're in court. Your shirt, think with me, Old Testament times, is kind of like a gown, if you will. Oh, some of us are getting it. Give him your coat also. What is this person doing in the middle of the court? Yeah, you're getting it. Buck naked in the Greek is what that means. I think, hang with me, I think Jesus, first of all, I think Jesus is being funny. He's not advocating. I feel like I need to tell this table, don't go out and do that. I just feel like I need to tell you, right? Shh, okay, we're running out of time here. So he says, offer them that also. In other words, maybe the fact that you've offered them everything off of your back. Again, there's a little bit of metaphor in this because he's not suggesting you do that. Maybe if you offered them literally everything, it would break the chain, break the cycle of them wanting to take everything from you. It would break the chain of anger, and it would certainly break the chain of retaliation. This is what his non-violent stance looks like. Third, kind of read through this one fast. Third and fourth, actually. Get the third one up there. What is it? The mile. If you go 1 mile with someone back in those days, right, the Roman soldiers could literally stop you. They did this when Jesus got crucified. Do you remember? Yeah. There was a Simon they said, you're going to carry this cross for him. And sometimes if we don't have the cultural understanding of that, it's like, oh, he's doing something nice for him. No, the soldier could at any moment say, hey, I'm tired, carry my pack for the next mile. What does Jesus say? Go with them too. Show them that their retaliation, that their ugliness towards you, their posture of they're superior and you're inferior, break the cycle of that. Break the cycle of that. And then the next one is just real simple. If someone asks something of you or someone begs something of you, just give it to them without wondering, right? None of these are popular in our culture. Some of these, if you were to go and share these with your families, they would say, now listen, it's 2024. We don't live by those rules anymore. Can I just have your attention for just a moment? Our church does not hold, I want you to listen. I'm dead serious. I want you to listen right now. Our church does not hold we can pick and choose Jesus' words. Right? This is the way of Jesus. Now, this is not the way of America. If I can just editorialize for a second, America looks nothing like Jesus. Because we're get yours, take control, take the power. It's yours, grab it. And Jesus says, give him your cloak too. Right, turn the other cheek. It's completely opposite. When we talk about upside down kingdom, man, Jesus is leading that. Here's just the very last thing that I want to say, and then we can close. Peacemaking. It's actually two things. Peacemaking often calls us to do something dramatically different than we're used to doing. Because this is peacemaking. It goes all the way back to the Beatitudes. Blessed are the peacemakers. What does peacemaking look like? Right here. Now, I would love for all of us to consider whether or not we care to follow Jesus now. Serious question. Are you willing to follow Jesus into this? Because Jesus walks up to the crucifixion and says, do what you will. Now, is Jesus saying that you should be a doormat? No. Can I actually, some of you have a million questions running through your head right now. It's well, what about this? What about this? What about this? Can I just share some of my questions that I don't have time? I don't have time right now. Sorry, because we got to end literally 1 minute ago. I'm going to list some of my questions for you that I don't have answers for because I just want to be transparent with you. There's some things I haven't worked out because you're thinking, well, what about this? Here's some of mine. What about self-defense? We can talk about it if you want to. Not tonight. What about protecting your family when an intruder comes? I've been known to say, you're breaking my house. I don't advocate murder. I'm going to protect my family, right? And I've had to wrestle that one down. But is that the way of Jesus? What about serving in the military? What about serving in the police force? What about all the Old Testament stuff that we have questions about? Me too. What about Hitler? What about the people that were Christians? There's Christians that sided on his side, that believed they were doing the right thing. What about the people that fought against him? But I know. Now that I've stirred up the hornet's nest, it's you're dismissed. But here, can I just be transparent? Give me 60 seconds just to kind of wrap our time up. I don't have all the answers. All I know is that the way of Jesus is not compatible with violence. Okay? That's what I believe to my core. Because you never see him advocate for it. The way of Jesus is not compatible with violence. So what do we do with that? Here's what I would suggest you do. And by the way, if you have questions, I would love to answer those. And we don't have time right now because we're going to dismiss you. We can continue talking about these things. Next week, we'll talk about loving our enemies. If you got questions, you want to kind of bleed that into our time of loving your enemies, this kind of fits. So maybe we'll drop in a couple of those, okay? I'm going to pray for you and then we'll be dismissed. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for your work in our lives. Lord, I pray that you would just give us every opportunity to learn from you. Lord, I do pray that we're challenged tonight. I pray that some people would actually question their own faith in this moment. Not because I want them to run away from Christianity, but because I want them to be stronger. I want them to be closer to you, and I want them to be really like Bible-driven people. So we want to follow you to the best of our ability, and when we need guided, Lord, guide us. Lord, it's in your name we pray. Amen.